Confidence that radiates is the type of energy that comes from a deep and unshakable sense of self, and it is one of the most stunning qualities a woman can carry into her older years because it is not about appearance or status. It is about the way she has learned to trust her own voice and not be silenced by the opinions or judgments of others. And that trust is built over a lifetime of trial, failure, resilience, and growth until she no longer needs outside validation to know her worth because she carries that worth within her and it shines in every interaction she has with the world around her, allowing her to walk into any room with the kind of presence that naturally commands respect without ever demanding it. And that kind of quiet strength is magnetic because people are drawn to someone who is comfortable in their own skin and unapologetically authentic in how they show up every single day. That confidence doesn't come overnight, and it isn't given. It is earned through every season of life when she has had to make choices that may not have been popular but were necessary, through times when she had to stand alone for what was right, through the lessons of heartbreak and rejection and the humility of mistakes, and every one of those experiences carved out a deeper foundation of assurance that she carries with her now. So when she walks with her head high, it isn't pride. It is the history of everything she has survived stitched into her posture, and that makes her stunning because there is nothing more beautiful than a woman who owns her story completely and refuses to let fear or shame diminish her presence. And that is why confidence becomes her greatest accessory, more striking than jewelry or clothing. As she grows older, confidence shows up in the way she speaks because her words are measured with wisdom rather than the need to impress. She doesn't overshare to fill silence. She doesn't seek approval in her tone. Instead, she communicates clearly, calmly, and directly. And that composure is magnetic because it allows others to feel safe in her presence. They know they are speaking to someone who values herself and therefore values the conversation. And when a woman carries herself with that level of confidence, it instantly separates her from the noise of insecurity and performance that often fills the room, making her presence unforgettable because she has mastered the art of self-respect and the discipline of dignity. Confidence also radiates through her choices because she is no longer bound by trends, by comparison, or by the exhausting chase of perfection that so many fall into. She knows what works for her. She knows what brings her peace. She knows what gives her joy. And she unapologetically leans into those things without hesitation. And that creates an aura of authenticity because she isn't trying to be anyone else. She is rooted in her identity. And when a woman fully embraces her own path without seeking constant validation, people notice because there is nothing more liberating to witness than someone who is free from the need to prove themselves. The stunning thing about this kind of confidence is that it doesn't make her hard or arrogant. It makes her generous because when you are secure in who you are, you don't feel the need to compete. You don't feel the urge to tear others down. Instead, you lift others up with encouragement and support because you aren't threatened by their success. And that generosity of spirit comes from the abundance of knowing that your value isn't reduced by anyone else's achievement. And that is why people are drawn to confident women, because they make others feel seen without making themselves small. They inspire without even trying, and they lead without needing to control. What makes this even more powerful in older age is the contrast it creates in a world that often tells women to fade, to quiet down, to become invisible as they get older. Yet she does the opposite. She stands taller, she speaks clearer, she loves deeper, and she embraces herself more boldly than ever before. And that resistance to disappearing makes her captivating because people can see she refuses to live under the labels of age or expectation. Instead, she chooses to redefine beauty and presence on her own terms. And that choice becomes an act of confidence that radiates in every aspect of her life, inspiring not only her peers, but the generations watching her example. Confidence that radiates is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is not about being flawless. It is about being fearless enough to be real. It is not about demanding attention. It is about naturally commanding it by being rooted in self-assurance. And as a woman grows older and wears her confidence with grace, she becomes stunning in a way that cannot be imitated because it isn't about the surface. It is about the spirit. It is about the lived experience. It is about the wisdom that shines through her eyes and the calm assurance in her voice. And that is why this quality becomes one of the most defining traits of a truly stunning woman in older age. A heart full of kindness is one of the rarest and most beautiful qualities a woman can carry into her older years because it becomes the very thing that softens her presence and makes her unforgettable. And this kindness is not just politeness or surface-level gestures. It is the kind of compassion that is born from a life of experiencing both joy and struggle, from understanding what it feels like to be hurt and choosing not to pass that hurt on to others, from realizing that everyone carries unseen battles and deciding to meet people with gentleness instead of judgment. And when a woman grows older with a heart rooted in kindness, she becomes stunning because her energy creates safety, warmth, and connection in a world that can often feel harsh and unkind. Kindness is the silent power that leaves a lasting impression long after appearances fade, because while beauty may catch attention for a moment, kindness holds it for a lifetime. And older women who choose kindness become role models of grace because they show that true strength does not come from how loudly you speak or how much you control, but from how much you are willing to give without expecting something in return. And this selflessness does not make them weak. It makes them magnetic because it is easy to admire someone who treats others with dignity and respect regardless of status, age, or circumstance. And this ability to see people for who they are rather than what they can offer creates an impact that is remembered far more than any possession or achievement. When a woman embodies kindness in her older age, it shows in the way she listens, because she listens not to respond, but to understand. She doesn't dismiss or minimize the experiences of others. Instead, she holds space for them. And in a society where so many voices fight to be heard, that kind of listening becomes a rare gift, one that makes people feel valued and loved in her presence. And that presence itself becomes stunning because it is not common to find someone who makes you feel like you matter without needing anything in return. And the beauty of that is it costs nothing yet. It leaves a priceless impression. A heart full of kindness also shapes the way she forgives, because with age comes the wisdom that holding on to bitterness only weighs you down. And so she learns to let go, not because others always deserve it, but because she deserves peace and that choice to forgive, to release grudges, and to move forward without hatred softens her spirit and adds a radiance that no product can imitate, because people can feel the lightness of a woman who no longer carries resentment, and that inner freedom makes her truly captivating, reminding everyone that kindness is not only how you treat others, but also how you treat yourself. In older age, kindness often shows itself in small but meaningful ways, in the smile shared with a stranger, in the patience shown when others are rushed, in the encouragement given when someone feels unseen, and in the willingness to offer time and presence to those who need it. And these seemingly simple acts are what make her stunning because they show that kindness is not about grand gestures. It is about consistency, about choosing to live with a generous heart every single day. And that lifestyle creates a ripple effect that touches more people than she will ever know, because kindness spreads far beyond the moment in which it is given. The stunning part of kindness is that it never grows old, it never goes out of style, and it never becomes irrelevant. In fact, the older a woman gets, the more valuable her kindness becomes because it is rare in a culture that often prioritizes self-interest and speed, and her kindness becomes a refreshing contrast, a reminder that gentleness is powerful, that compassion is timeless, and that empathy is what truly connects us. And when she carries these values into her older years, she doesn't just age gracefully, she becomes an anchor of love and light for everyone around her, and people cannot help but be drawn to that presence. A heart full of kindness in older age makes a woman stunning because it is the kind of beauty that cannot be bought, imitated, or diminished by time. It is cultivated through years of choices, through intentional living, through empathy and love, and it radiates in her smile, in her words, in her actions, and in the way she makes others feel seen and valued. And that is why kindness remains one of the most captivating traits a woman can ever carry into the later chapters of her life. Timeless self-care habits are one of the strongest foundations that make a woman stunning in her older years because they reflect a lifetime of honoring her body, mind, and spirit. And this is not about vanity or chasing youth. It is about recognizing that caring for yourself is an act of respect. It is a choice that says, my well-being matters and I will prioritize it. And over the years, those small daily choices add up in powerful ways. They show in her skin, in her posture, in her energy, and in the way she moves through life with vitality. And people notice that glow, not because it comes from products or procedures, but because it comes from consistency and balance that have been nurtured over decades. When a woman grows older with timeless self-care habits, she carries a kind of radiance that is not forced but natural, the kind of radiance that comes from drinking water instead of neglecting hydration, from choosing movement instead of a sedentary lifestyle, from resting when her body calls for it instead of burning herself out, and from nourishing herself with foods that give energy rather than stealing it. And while these choices may seem simple, their impact is profound because they allow her to age with strength rather than frailty, with vitality rather than fatigue. And that strength itself becomes stunning because it is evidence of the discipline and love she has shown herself over the years. Self-care is not just about the body, it is about the mind as well. And older women who remain stunning often cultivate practices that keep their minds sharp, whether it is reading, learning, journaling, reflecting, or engaging in conversations that challenge and inspire them. And this mental care makes them magnetic because they can sit at a table with anyone and contribute meaningfully. They remain curious instead of closed off, open instead of rigid. And that flexibility of thought makes them captivating because they carry both wisdom and freshness, a combination that makes them unforgettable to anyone who encounters them, proving that true beauty is not only about how you look, but also about how you think and how you choose to grow. The emotional side of self-care is just as important because a stunning woman in older age has usually learned to protect her peace. She doesn't allow toxic relationships to drain her energy. She doesn't chase after validation that leaves her empty, and she doesn't carry unnecessary chaos into her life. Instead, she builds boundaries that guard her heart. She practices gratitude that shifts her focus, and she surrounds herself with environments that lift her rather than weigh her down. And that choice to care for her emotions is what keeps her spirit light, her energy radiant, and her presence magnetic, because people can feel the peace that she carries and are drawn to it instinctively. Self-care also extends to how she treats her passions, because taking time for the things that bring joy is a form of caring for the soul. Whether it is painting, gardening, traveling, volunteering, or simply sitting with a cup of tea and silence, she makes space for what nourishes her spirit. And that commitment to joy shows in her demeanor. It shows in the spark in her eyes and the warmth of her smile. And it makes her stunning because passion is ageless. It keeps her alive inside, and that inner light radiates outward no matter how many years pass, reminding everyone around her that life is not only about longevity, but about quality. There is also a timelessness in the way self-care teaches her to embrace balance, because she understands that too much of anything can harm, whether it is overworking, overindulging, or overextending, and instead she practices moderation. She knows when to say yes and when to say no. She knows when to push forward and when to rest, and that balance makes her steady, dependable, and resilient. And resilience itself is stunning because it is not loud or flashy. It is the quiet power of showing up again and again with strength, and that is the kind of beauty that people remember long after physical appearances have changed. Ultimately, timeless self-care habits become the invisible foundation that supports everything else about her. They give her the energy to live passionately, the health to move freely, the clarity to think wisely, and the emotional grounding to love deeply. And those habits do not just make her stunning in appearance, they make her stunning in presence, because they allow her to show up fully for herself and for others, proving that self-care is not selfish, it is essential, and it is one of the most powerful choices a woman can carry with her into her older years. Emotional wisdom and composure are qualities that make a woman stunning in older age because they are the kind of strengths that cannot be bought or faked. They are only gained through lived experience, through trials and hardships, through victories and losses, and through years of learning how to respond rather than react. And when a woman grows older with this kind of emotional maturity, she carries a calmness that feels rare in a world that is often filled with noise, urgency, and unnecessary drama. And that calmness becomes magnetic because people are naturally drawn to those who can maintain peace in the middle of chaos, who can listen with empathy rather than judgment, and who can approach life with a balanced heart rather than a restless one, making her presence one that others feel safe around and deeply respect. This kind of wisdom comes from understanding that not every battle is worth fighting, not every opinion needs to be voiced, and not every storm requires your energy, and older women who carry emotional composure know the value of silence, they know the strength of patience, and they know the beauty of letting go instead of holding on to what only harms, and that restraint is not weakness, but power, because it shows she has nothing to prove. She is not governed by ego, and she does not need to win every argument to know her worth. And that kind of emotional discipline makes her stunning because it shows she has mastered herself. And mastery of self is one of the rarest and most captivating forms of beauty that exists. Her emotional wisdom also shows in how she treats others, because she understands that people often act from their pain, and instead of matching their negativity, she meets them with compassion. Instead of fueling the fire, she chooses to disarm it, and this choice to respond with grace instead of anger makes her stand out because anyone can react impulsively, but it takes true strength to remain composed, and when people encounter a woman like this, they walk away feeling different, feeling understood, feeling calm, and they remember her not for what she said, but for how she made them feel, and that memory lingers long after the moment has passed, leaving her stunning in the eyes of those who crossed her path. Composure also reveals itself in the way she carries herself through difficulties because life does not become easier with age, but what changes is the perspective, and a woman with emotional wisdom has learned that storms are temporary, that setbacks are lessons, and that pain often leads to growth, and so she does not crumble under pressure. She steadies herself, she breathes through it, and she trusts that better days will come, and that resilience is stunning because it radiates strength without arrogance. It communicates hope without words, and it makes her presence a source of encouragement to those who are still struggling to find their own footing, reminding them that peace is possible even in the middle of hardship. Older women with emotional composure also embody humility, because wisdom has taught them that no one has all the answers, that everyone is still learning, and that life is not about perfection, but about growth. And this humility makes them approachable, it makes them relatable, and it makes them stunning because it allows people of all ages to connect with them without feeling small or judged. And that openness becomes a bridge that brings others closer, creating meaningful bonds that are built not on control, but on mutual respect. And in a world that often rewards pride, that kind of humility rooted in wisdom becomes unforgettable. Another part of emotional wisdom is the ability to balance truth with kindness, to speak honestly without being cruel, to give guidance without shaming, and to set boundaries without bitterness. And women who practice this balance radiate a sense of strength wrapped in softness. And that combination is stunning because it shows that you can be both firm and gentle, both strong and tender, and both wise and compassionate. And that balance is what makes her not only respected, but admired, because people see that she is not trying to be someone she is not. She is simply grounded in her values and consistent in her actions, and that kind of consistency is what earns her lasting influence. Emotional wisdom and composure in older age make a woman stunning because they transform her from someone who simply reacts to life into someone who shapes the atmosphere around her. They allow her to be the calm in the storm, the strength in the struggle, and the voice of reason when emotions run high. And that presence is beautiful in a way that is timeless because it does not depend on outward appearance. It depends on the spirit she carries, the patience she practices, and the peace she offers to those who cross her path, making her truly captivating in every season of life. A purposeful and passionate lifestyle is what makes a woman truly stunning in her older age because it gives her a sense of vibrance that cannot be dimmed by time. It is the fire in her eyes when she talks about what she loves. It is the determination in her steps when she pursues what matters. And it is the joy in her spirit that radiates outwards and inspires everyone around her. And this way of living does not happen by accident. It is built by choosing not to settle for simply existing, but instead to keep growing, to keep dreaming, to keep moving forward. And that choice is what separates her from those who fade quietly into the background because she refuses to let age define her limits. She lets passion and purpose define her instead. And that decision is what keeps her magnetic at every stage of life. A purposeful lifestyle is stunning because it gives her clarity. She knows what she values, she knows what she stands for, and she knows what direction she wants her life to move in. And this clarity makes her decisions strong and intentional. She does not waste energy on distractions that do not serve her. She does not live to impress others, and she does not let fear paralyze her. Instead, she directs her time and energy toward goals that matter. And that intentionality is what makes her captivating because people are naturally drawn to those who live with direction instead of drifting, and they admire the courage it takes to live a life that aligns with conviction rather than convenience. And that kind of living becomes even more beautiful when carried with grace into older age. Passion fuels her days and gives her a glow that no beauty product can match because passion lights up the face, it lifts the voice, it strengthens the presence, and it reminds everyone around her that age has nothing to do with energy when your heart is alive. And women who live with passion remain unforgettable because they pour themselves into what excites them, whether that is their career, their family, their community, or their creative pursuits. And they refuse to live passively. They choose to live actively with both hands open and both feet firmly moving. And that choice makes them stunning because it shows that a woman's worth does not diminish with time. It multiplies when she invests it into something meaningful. Living with purpose also gives her resilience because when life inevitably throws challenges her way, she has something larger to hold on to. She has a reason to keep going. She has a foundation that steadies her, and that resilience makes her captivating because it shows she is not broken by hardship, but instead refined by it. And that strength rooted in purpose inspires others who may feel lost or directionless, showing them that fulfillment is not about avoiding difficulties, but about having a reason strong enough to move through them. And that is why women who live with both purpose and passion glow differently, because they are fueled from within rather than chasing things outside of themselves. A purposeful and passionate lifestyle in older age also reshapes how she connects with others because she is no longer content with shallow relationships or meaningless conversations. She seeks depth. She invests in people who align with her values, and she pours her energy into building connections that matter. And that depth is stunning because it shows maturity, it shows wisdom, and it shows that she has chosen quality over quantity in every area of her life. And people who encounter her feel the difference because her interactions are intentional, her presence is meaningful, and her love is rooted in authenticity. And that authenticity cannot help but make her shine brighter than anyone who lives only on the surface. Passion keeps her curious and open minded, and this openness keeps her stunning because she never stops learning, never stops exploring, never stops reaching for more. And this hunger for life keeps her spirit youthful, it keeps her adaptable, and it keeps her energized. And people are drawn to her because she proves that growing older does not mean growing stagnant. It means you have more wisdom to fuel your next adventure, more perspective to shape your choices, and more courage to take risks that others may shy away from. And that spirit of curiosity makes her captivating because it shows she is alive in every sense of the word. Ultimately, a purposeful and passionate lifestyle makes a woman stunning in older age because it transforms her into someone who does not simply survive her years, but thrives in them, someone who leaves a mark through her actions, her energy, her love, and her vision, someone who embodies the truth that beauty is not about looking young, but about living fully, and that fullness shines through her presence in a way that makes her unforgettable. Because she is not just aging gracefully, she is aging powerfully, with purpose in her steps and passion in her heart. And that is a kind of beauty that only grows stronger as the years go by.